Hola. Hola, hola, hola. Hi. Thank you for being here. Yay. Now, is it Teresa or Theresa? Just so I say it right, because there's different ones say it different ways when it's spelled with a TH. Teresa. Okay, and it's Hissong. I want to get it right. Hissong. Okay, yes. And I am Mane Atkins. Nice to meet you. Thank you so much for letting me read this to these guys. Oh, I loved this series. Loved it. Well, I haven't finished it yet. I had to finally come off of it. I got as far as, let's see, who did I get through to? Ooh. Let's see. Okay, let's go there. I got as far. Is there one named Razor? Hey, Nina. Hey, Vincy. Look who showed up for you guys did. Ha, 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 ha. Now, Teresa, is there anything? Oh, is there any particular chapters or anything you want me to read? If not, I'm just going to start at the beginning, which I think is a really good place to start. And okay, read that one, Red Savage, Red Alpha, Red Winter. Ranger, I think, is the one I'm. That doesn't sound right either. No. I think I've just bought it. I haven't read it yet. I don't even know where I'm at now. Dang, I got too many books in this thing. Anyways, I'm somewhere. It is really, 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 really good. I think I'm about halfway through the series. There's so many of them. I was like, wow. Wow. Yeah, this may take me a little while. I had to finally pull off of them for a little while so that I could. I think I'm on about 6 or 7. So, but I have a thing for series. I love to read series. All right, you're gonna be way down here. Head past Mackenzie. It's just, I was like, wow. And I like your take on shifters. I like your the way you do shifters. Everybody kind of does everything differently with shifters, just like they do with vampires or mages or witches or all that other stuff. Um, But yeah, well, maybe I didn't. I just love the way you did yours. Oh, here we go. I am I am in the process of reading Ranger. That is the one I'm thinking. I was thinking it was something one different, but no, Rangers as far as I've gotten. So, whew, let's get back to Talon. I love them. It is unique. I hadn't seen that series before, or that version of it before, and but I loved it. Everybody's got a little different way of doing it, and I liked yours. It's neither better or worse than anybody else's. It's just different, and yeah, yes. So now, see, I'm gonna read this tonight. And I'm gonna be picking back up on Ranger pretty soon. So, alrighty, 8:05. Y'all about ready to get started? Somebody holler at Jackie because she's probably got lost track of time. She gonna want to hear this one. So, y'all ready to see this sexy cover? Look at this sexy cover. Damn, you can wash them panties on there. It's called Talon, Book 1 of Rise of the Proud. Yeah, I think reading kind of good on this because of the way you go about them. It's not your typical. The book is hot too. I'm not going to be getting any sexy stuff tonight, but there is some sexy stuff in here, girls. Just so you know, lots of male voices too. So get ready. Chapter 1. The footage had been seen on every news outlet around the world. Two men were filmed shifting into Black Panthers at the edge of the forest in northern Mississippi. The video was Nathan needs to be here. Dang it. Theresa, did I meet you in Nashville last year? Your name is so familiar, and I don't know if I met you or not. Oh, you do, Vincy. I did. See your name. And I think the picture on my YouTube picture and probably I don't even know what I got on my Facebook. Um, yeah, I was there. I was there. I had on um, a black tank top, and it said, "I licked it. It's mine," and it had big pair of Mick Jagger lips and tongue or something. I don't know. Okay, back to it. Mm, mm, mm. All right. The video was as clear as the blue sky above. They'd been seen, and the entire world now knew that shifters existed. Talon Shaw gritted his teeth at the reporter. You guys don't want to see that side of me, do you? You better see better. Yeah, I didn't comb my hair very much this morning. This rain, it's hard to do anything when it's raining. My apologies. Okay. Talon Shaw gritted his teeth at the reporter who kept asking some of the most idiotic questions he had ever heard in his life. Why the fuck they wanted to know about their mating rituals was beyond intrusive, and he sure as hell wasn't going to let that bit of information out into the general public. Every human would run away screaming if they had any idea how mating occurred. He'd been in talks with local law enforcement and the media for almost a week now. If Ranger and Kai hadn't been so stupid, they wouldn't be in this situation. They'd be living peacefully on the Pride's 200-acre ranch south of town with no one the wiser. How long have your kind been around? A reporter asked. Where did you come from? Another chimed in, talking over everyone else. Are you dangerous? A cute blonde asked, raising her hand. Our kind have been around for thousands of years. Talon began, looking out into the sea of human reporters. It was hard not to lash out at the reporters for their increasingly impertinent questions. We are a peaceful group, usually keeping to ourselves. Our ancestors were warriors for kings in ancient times. Panthers have no hatred toward anyone, human or animal. How old are you? A male reporter asked, leaning forward to make himself visible. Talon recognized him from the local station. I am 29 years old, he answered, catching sight of his young brother Noah standing off to the side. Talon scanned the room and found his second in command, Winter, waiting off to his right. As his eyes moved back across the room, Noah made a sign for Talon to finish. And you are the leader of this pride? The male asked, looking confused over his choice of words. They were different from their animal cousins. Usually, panthers were solitary animals, only coming together to procreate. Since the beginning of time, the shifters had stuck close together, maintaining a family environment. Their ancestors actually coined the name pride in reference to their families. Their animal form wasn't quite like big cats in the jungles of the world. From a distance, you'd say they were panther, but their genetic makeup was more than just one breed. In fact, their animal bodies were bigger and different from their animal cousins in the wild. They did not have darkened rosettes like some black cats either. Their genes were not a pigmentation flaw like scientists like to use in reference to the wild black cats. No, Talon and his pride were just black, panther like cats that lived in the human world. Yes, I am. Every pride has a leader, an alpha. It is his responsibility to nurture and provide for his people. Without the leadership of an alpha, the pride would suffer and eventually die out. It is my responsibility to make sure that they have work and a safe environment to live and raise their young. Are there other shifters out there? The blonde woman asked. This is about my pride, and I will only speak about them, he said, his voice holding a warning. It wasn't his place to tell the secrets of the other shifters. So there are others? She pushed, leaning forward. Are there wolves, like in the movies? What about other animals? The woman's eyes took on a dreamy haze, and Talon cringed. Next question, he responded curtly, looking away from the woman. He hoped like hell that she didn't push him any further to answer those damn questions. You own a few companies, Mr. Shaw, another reporter began. Is this how you provide? Do you only employ your own kind? I employ members of my pride and humans, he said, trying his best not to fidget in his seat. He had to answer these questions as honestly as possible, but not so honestly that the people who worked for him would be targeted. Did the humans know that you shift into an animal? A woman called out. No, he answered simply. He didn't want to scare the humans. The last thing their kind needed was for the humans to hunt them down out of fear. There were many things about shifters that he would take to his grave. There was no way in hell Talon was going to let the humans know that they could be transformed into a shifter with a blood exchange and excruciating pain while the human's body transformed into an animal. The questions kept coming, and eventually his time was up. His brother Noah and his second in command, Winter Blue, escorted Talon to an awaiting SUV, whisking him away from the steps of the City Hall building. The camera flashes caused the Panthers to squint, the light irritating their sensitive eyes. I'm so glad that's over, Talon sighed, leaning back in his seat. It'd been a long day of answering increasingly personal questions. We should be able to breathe a little this weekend, Noah smiled. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to have a beer. That sounds like a good idea, Talon agreed, finally beginning to relax. Let's hit up the Deuce for dinner. Do you think there will be a problem? Winter frowned. Winter was not only his second in command, but also the head of his security company, SSS, or Shaw Security Specialist, as the sign over their office complex stated. No, Talon replied. We will not run away from this town. Running only makes them believe that we have something to hide. This pride will continue their daily routines regardless of the media and whatever they say. Then beer it is, Noah cheerfully proclaimed. Let's hope the little bar owner is there tonight. Just a beer, Noah, Talon warned, not giving away his emotions. He didn't want to think about the woman that owned the bar they visited. Liberty Rains was there most nights, but that didn't mean that they interacted with her very often. There'd been a few times that she'd come by the table to drop off drinks or food. She was always too busy working for them to strike up a conversation. There was something about the little brunette that sent Talon's panther into a growling frenzy. It must have been her scent. Oh, he could pick it out of a crowd. The combination of wildflowers and sunshine was permanently etched in his brain. The last thing he needed in his life was a woman. He had too many things going on now that they'd been outed by the humans. The fact that she was a woman sealed the deal on the certainty that he wanted nothing to do with her. A panther and a human didn't mix, and he sure as hell wasn't going to drag a human into his world. Not now, not ever. Hi, Jackie. Oh, Talon, Rise of the Pride. Book 1 by Miss Theresa Hissong. The bar was mostly quiet. Liberty wiped down the old wooden bar top with a fresh rag out of the bucket of clean sanitizing solution. The television was on above her head. The news had been focused on their breaking story for a week now. The fairy tales from childhood nursery rhymes had come true. Paranormal stories of men who shifted into animals were no longer fiction. It was real. It'd been real for as long as the earth had orbited around the sun. One of her waitresses was sitting on the bar stool at the end of the bar, totally engrossed in the newscast. A pair of men had been filmed shifting into sleek black panthers at the edge of a wooded area, just south of town, not too far from her bar. Once the news had blasted the information all over the world, a local man had stepped forward claiming the unthinkable. Some of those men had been regulars, and Liberty had never noticed anything out of the ordinary about them. They all seemed so normal. Well, that was a lie. None of these men were anywhere near normal looking. They were larger than the average man that stepped foot into her little business. Each one was tall, muscular. Their shoulders were wide, arms rippling with muscles that seemed to overlap themselves. They moved with grace despite their size. Every woman in the room noticed them when they took their usual seats in the back corner, ordering their drinks and food with no problems. Each and every one of the men that entered was beyond handsome. Sexual prowess oozed off of them whenever they were around. Even Liberty had to admit that they had thrown her hormones into overdrive a time or two. You two behave. I see, and that's why I told the girls to go get you because I knew you enjoyed shifter books. See, I think about you, Miss Jackie. I don't know about the other two, but I think about you. I still can't believe this is happening, Nicole fretted. She leaned back, her blonde hair falling in ringlets down her back. And in our little town, did you know that I saw several news vans on my way in earlier? I heard the media is going crazy over all this, she admitted. No, okay. I missed something somewhere. Okay, no, I was right. Liberty shot a quick look at the screen, averting her eyes when the man claiming to be the pride's alpha started talking about his secret. She didn't even she didn't have to even look at the screen to know who it was because she would have known his voice anywhere. Talon Shaw was a regular in her bar. He and his buddies could be found there every Friday and Saturday night, staying until last call, and sometimes they came in for lunch during the week. They'd interacted only a few times in the last 2 years that she'd been running the deuce, and he had always seemed to be aware of everything that went on in the bar. Oh, she'd noticed how he watched her move around, helping wait tables and delivering food when the place became busy during rush hours. She'd be in line if she said that she hadn't watched him from the corner of her eye whenever he walked in the door, too. The man who was the leader of these shifters was huge. His dark hair was short cropped, but on the top of his head, his hair was kept a little longer. That sexy length obscured one of his icy blue eyes, making him look dangerous. His arms were so large that she was sure his shirt would split at the seams if he sneezed. His skin appeared to be as soft as satin, and a few times Liberty would have a full body shiver attack when she thought about the possibility of those arms brushing against hers by accident. She honestly didn't think she'd survive that much stimulus if she'd ever get that close to the man. Are you even watching this? Nicole called out. No, Liberty replied, brushing her long chocolate brown hair behind her ear. It's none of my business. Yes, it is, Nicole insisted. Do you realize these guys have been here every weekend? It is your business, Liberty. Are you going to let these freaks back in the bar tonight when they show up? Now, hold on one damn minute, Liberty yelled. They are as welcome here as anyone else. Are you serious? She scoffed, throwing her hands in the air. I can't believe this. I'm going to only say this once, Nicole, Liberty said, dropping her rag in the bucket and making her way to the end of the bar. This is my bar, and I will decide who is welcome or not. If these guys come in here, you are to treat them like any other paying customer. Got me? Yeah, yes, ma'am, Liberty answered in defeat. Now, go prep for the dinner rush, Liberty ordered, flipping off the television. This place should start filling up within the hour, and I think maybe I need to have a meeting with everyone before we get started tonight. She watched Nicole hop off the bar stool, grabbing her order pad as she walked into the back room. The last thing she needed was for her waitresses to be mean or hateful to the group of men. No, the Panthers that spent time in her bar. She busied herself with making sure all of the coolers were stocked with beer bottles covered with ice. I actually felt more in touch with Liberty than I did any of the others. Maybe her sister. The rest of the women, they were too not as alpha as she is. And I'm more of an alpha type of person, unfortunately. She busied herself with making sure all the coolers were stocked with beer bottles covered with ice. She stacked cups at each station behind the bar and refilled the napkin and straw caddies for the bartenders who'd be arriving soon. Looking up into the mirror on the back wall, she took a deep breath and continued to work. She didn't need to worry about the news. She had to run the bar and keep her staff from quitting out of fear of the shifters. It was 30 minutes before the employees started trickling in for their shift. Mo, the cook, was the first one to arrive, stopping to kiss Liberty's cheek. Good morning, doll. Or good evening, doll. Hey, Mo, she greeted. Mo had been around since before she took over the Deuce. The Deuce had been in her family for 2 generations. Her father had left the bar to her when he died from a sudden heart attack just over 2 years ago. Her mother and grandparents had passed several years prior in a fatal car accident, leaving her younger sister as the only living relative in the area. The Deuce was located at the very outskirts of the town of Olive Branch in northern Mississippi. The town was just over the state line from Tennessee and the city of Memphis. Liberty loved her town, never finding the appeal of moving away. The people they were friendly. The people there were friendly, and having the oldest, most popular bar in town kept her busier than she'd ever thought possible. Mo tied on his apron, covering his rounded belly. He was in he was in his late 50s and had already started shaving his head to hide the fact that his hair was now completely white. Before you start prep, I need to have a meeting with everyone. Sure, darling. He drawled in his southern accent. The two bartenders and three extra waitresses gathered around Mo, waiting for Liberty to make her speech. Her sister and co owner of the bar stood off to the side, waiting to hear what Liberty had to say. I'm going to make this short and sweet, she began, letting her eyes fall on each and every one of her employees. We've all seen the news, and know that it centers around some of our customers. We will treat everyone that walks through that door with respect. A lot of things are going on right now, and we need to show that our customers are our top priority. These men who've been coming here for a while now are still just like all of us. They come in here to eat food and drink beer. I want you to treat them as if you'd never heard about their story. This is all I ask of you. If you have any problems, and I mean any, you come get me. Okay? Everyone nodded or spoke their understanding, most of them heading off to their stations. The two bartenders, Cole Bryant and Luke Everett, squeezed Liberty's shoulder as they passed, silently giving her their support. Nicole didn't show any emotions as she headed off to the back room for more supplies. Mary Grace Browning and Della Carter smiled warmly and started turning on lights over the pool tables in the back of the bar. Sis? No, that's not a good voice. Sis? Nova, Liberty's baby sister, smiled, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. That's awesome. That's awesome that you are willing to treat these men just like anyone else. Why do you say that? Liberty frowned. People around town are a little spooked, she shrugged. I don't really see a problem with what they are. It's not like they've ever caused any trouble in here or in town. Exactly, Liberty smiled, ruffling her sister's long brown hair. Nova giggled and swaddled at her hands, shaking her head as she left to get ready for the dinner crowd. Liberty and Nova were just 3 years apart in age. Nova had just turned 21 a few months ago, and Liberty's birthday had just passed. Being a bar owner at the age of 24 was not something she imagined for herself at this age. She'd hoped to go to college and take a few classes, and had taken a few classes, but after her father's death, she had to step up and take over the bar, or it would have been lost to the bank. The Deuce meant too much to her and her sister to let it go. It was one of the hardest decisions she had had to make as an adult, but she could honestly say that it had been the best. As the bar began to fill, Liberty spent time doing paperwork so that she could be on the floor when the crowd really got going around 8 o'clock. Her office was in the back of the building, down the hallway from the bathrooms and a small employee break room. She had recently painted the walls a warm green that reminded her of the woods behind her home. The old oak desk that had belonged to her father was the main focal point in the room. His picture still hung on the wall by the file cabinets to her right. When she felt like she couldn't succeed in the business, all she had to do was look up at his smiling face, and it would remind her of the sacrifices he had made to keep this place running smoothly. She would touch his portrait and gain some unseen strength. Sometimes she felt like he was there watching over her and Nova, ensuring she didn't fail. He had loved this bar, and Liberty would keep the Deuce running as long as she had air in her lungs and love in her heart. The building itself was an old log home that had been transformed into a bar. The clatter of booted feet walking heavy across the hardwood floors was the sound that comforted her. So was the glow from the neon lights in the windows that faced the two-lane highway that ran in front of the place. Leaving the office, she checked the bathrooms, refilling the paper towel dispenser in the women's room. She knocked on the men's room door and yelled, "Management, is there anyone in here?" "I got it, Liberty," Cole announced as he came around the corner. "Go on out front and cover the bar for me. I'll be right out." "Aw, thanks, Cole." She smiled, handing him a rag and a bottle of cleaner. He nodded and ducked into the men's room without another word. The hallway by the bathrooms dead ended into another short hallway. Turning left would take you into the kitchen, and turning right dumped you out into the bar area. She quickly checked on Mo in the kitchen, but didn't say anything to the older man. He was busy plating orders and setting them in the window for the waitresses to deliver to the tables. Liberty gasped as she turned the corner and almost plowed right into her sister. "Nova, where's the fire, girl?" "Sorry, they're here." Nova fidgeted, her face flushed. "Who's here?" she questioned. "The cats," Nova giggled, but zipped her lip when Liberty scowled at her. "Sorry, Talon, Shaw, and his crew are here, and everyone is staring at them." "Why is your face so red? Did anything happen?" Liberty asked. "No," Nova replied, then smiled. One of them was flirting with me." "Girl," Liberty groaned. "Stay away from those boys. In fact, stay away from all boys. They're nothing but trouble. Now go wait your tables." "Okay," she answered, bouncing off to the kitchen to grab her orders. At 21, her sister was strikingly beautiful and single. That was a bad combination. Liberty shook her head and made her way out to the bar. Glancing over at the booth in the back corner, Talon and his brother Noah sat with four other men, all talking and laughing amongst themselves. As if she called out, Talon's head snapped around, their eyes locking from across the room. His face was momentarily cast in a shadow from the dim lights. That was until his head tilted to the side curiously. Liberty was rooted to her spot as Talon's ice blue eyes darkened. A hint of yellow seeped into them and as quickly as she blinked, the color was gone and so was the hold he had over her body. His brother nudged him, causing the alpha to turn his head, but not before the corner of his lip lifted in a naughty smirk. Um, "Can you take these drinks over to our local celebrities?" Luke asked, setting another round of beers on a tray. "Sure," she nodded, sliding the tray onto the flat of her hand that was suddenly shaky. As she approached the table, she watched Talon's back stiffen. His head raised slightly, and his shoulders seemed to double in size as he breathed deeply. Two of the men lifted their gazes and smiled. Talon lowered his head and looked up at her through thick, dark lashes. "Gentlemen," Liberty greeted, setting a fresh bottle in front of each man. "Thank you," Talon said, his voice a deep timbre. In fact, she could have sworn she heard a slight rumble coming from his chest. But she could have been mistaken. The music was so loud that it may have been a part of the song that was playing over the speakers. "Is there anything else I can get you?" she asked, taking the empty bottles off their table. Yeah, darling," a slurred voice said from behind her. "You can tell these freaks they're not wanted." "Excuse me," she snarled, setting the tray on Talon's table and turning around to find Terry Holmes, a guy she'd gone to school with, swaying where he stood, his eyes bloodshot and watery. His blonde hair was unkempt and hung in greasy strands down the tops of his shoulders. "I said you need to kick these abominations out of your bar," he snarled back. "Your daddy would be rolling over in his grave if he knew you were serving these pussies, Liberty." Liberty was shocked for a moment, but then her temper kicked into high gear. Terry, my daddy would have never been so hateful. Now you need to just go on back to your seat, and if you can't behave yourself, I'll call Sheriff Lynch and have him come pick you up. I think you've had enough for the night. Terry sputtered for a minute, his face turning red. Before she could blink, Terry reached around and grabbed Talon's wrist. I said they need to go. In a move her daddy would have been proud of, Liberty seized a hold of Terry's wrist, adding just enough pressure for his hand to release the Alpha's wrist. The men at the table cursed and began to scramble as Liberty spun herself to the side, taking Terry to his knees. In a matter of seconds, Liberty had Terry's arm behind his back at such an odd angle, the other patrons in the bar cringed at the look of pain that crossed the drunk man's face. Listen up, because I am only going to say this once. Liberty bellowed, her southern accent thickening with her anger. This is my bar. It doesn't matter who or what you are. Black, white, human, shifter, or God knows what else is out there. You will not disrespect my customers or anyone who works in this building. From this moment on, the deuce is neutral territory. Leave your opinions and your differences at the damn door. With that, Liberty dropped her hold on Terry. The man scrambled to his feet just as Talon's friends gathered at her back. You will regret this, Liberty Reigns, Terry snarled, pointing a dirty finger in her direction. Liberty stifled a laugh because Terry was pointing at something over her shoulder. Go on, Terry, she barked, shaking her head. It's time for you to leave. Don't let me see you back in here until you can behave yourself. She watched Terry until he stumbled out of the door, one of his friends following him out to his car. When she turned around, she gaped at the 6 men who were standing so close to her back that she almost face planted into one of their beefy chests. But then they all took a step back like they were afraid to touch her. Why did you do that? Talon asked, stepping closer. His head tilted to the side again. She mentally slapped herself when she thought he resembled her cat Mittens when she would tilt her head from side to side. Because he was drunk and touched one of my customers, she answered. I'm sorry that happened. Are you okay? I concur, Theresa. I'm perfectly fine. He snapped, looking like he could take her over his knee. Damn, he was mad. Are you upset? She scoffed. No, ma'am. Talon sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. I'm not angry at you. What I want to know is, why did you defend us? Because this is my bar and I won't tolerate disrespect, she answered, then nodded toward his hand. Do you need some ice? He grabbed you pretty hard. No, Talon snorted, calming slightly. We heal pretty quickly. To prove his point, Talon raised his wrist for her to see. Liberty gasped as she watched the bruising under his skin fade and quickly vanish. That's really cool. Thank you, Talon smiled. We believe in repaying our debts. The Shaw Pride is indebted to you, Ms. Raines. If you are ever in need of help, please let us know. That won't be necessary, she blushed, looking up into Talon's eyes. He was damn near a foot taller than she was. His shoulders were wider than the door frame. This man had, and all the men with him, probably lifted dump trucks just for the fun of it. Maybe if I need some manual labor, like moving a house, I'll let you know. Liberty? Talon called out just as she had turned to walk away. Walk away? When she looked over her shoulder, Talon's nostrils had flared slightly and yellow specks had seeped into his eyes. She felt her body warm from just his look. Oh, this couldn't be good. Yeah, she stuttered. Don't ever Put yourself in a dangerous position with a drunk human male again, he ordered. His eyes completely switched to a glowing yellow. Yes, she sighed breathlessly. Okay. Without another glance, Liberty rushed off to her office, slamming the door behind her. Bending at the waist, she gasped for air as she tried to calm her heart from thundering in her chest. If she closed her eyes, she could still see those beautiful eyes, and she could have sworn his scent still lingered over her body. That scent alone caused a heavy feeling in her breast and a dull ache deep in her belly. She didn't know what the hell was going on with her body. Liberty Raines was a strong, independent woman, and she would have never let a man tell her what to do. So, why in the hell did every part of her mind, body, and soul want to do exactly as Talon Shaw had ordered? Ladies, didn't I tell you this was a pretty good book? Maybe just a wee bit. I went on. I went on about these books for weeks. You know that son of a bitch is going to come right back. Come back, right? Noah asked, draining the rest of his beer. His keen eyesight swept across the bar, looking for any sign of trouble. He won't touch her, Talon vowed. There was something about the woman that made his protective instincts awaken. The feeling was so foreign to him that it shocked him silent for a moment. The feeling was unlike his need to protect his pride. No, this was different, stronger. Whoa, dude, Noah drawled, leaning forward to get a good look at Talon's face. Is your panther interested in the little bar owner? What? Talon growled, feeling his panther close to the surface. He shook himself, trying to silently tell his cat to back the fuck down. He wasn't looking for a mate, and that little human bar owner was not what he needed, ever. Then why in the hell was he being drawn to her? Yeah, man, he snickered. Your kitty cat is prowling. Noah laughed and pointed to his own eyes, alerting Talon to the fact that his were turning amber. Why the fuck do you call it my kitty cat? He barked, wanting to strangle his little brother and change the subject at the same time. The kid was barely 22 years old, but he acted like he was still 15 sometimes. He was built, his jet black hair styled to perfection. Talon often wondered if there was something wrong with Noah because he always dressed like a preppy schoolboy and not like a man who lived in the backwoods of Mississippi. Boy, did Mama drop you on your head as a cub? I can't remember if she did. The other men at the table, Savage, Dane, Storm, and Winter, looked everywhere but at their alpha, choosing to ignore Noah and his stupid mouth. Nah, he sighed, he laughed. I was the good one, remember? She loved me more than you or Kai. Kai was the youngest. At 17, he was about to graduate high school and head off to college. Talon hoped like hell that their little announcement to the world hadn't affected his brother's future. Shut up, Noah, Winter snapped, shaking his dark blonde head. Boy, you don't know when to quit, do you? Nope, Noah grinned. He loves me. It's all good, my friends. Now I see why some mothers eat their young, Talon mumbled. Talon ignored his brother's rambling and instead continued to watch the bar with a keen eye. Liberty was rushing out with a tray of food. The tiny brunette looked very small in comparison to the tray she was holding. Her big brown eyes were framed with long lashes, her cheekbones high and sculptured just right. Talon suppressed a groan when he watched her lean over to place a plate of food in front of one of her customers. The tight denim jeans she wore molded to her shapely hips. Her tight tank top made her large breasts defy the material's ability to stretch to its limits. On her feet, she wore a pair of tennis shoes that had seen better days. Your tongue is hanging out, Winter said, nudging Talon's side. She's human, boss. I know, Talon replied, not taking his eyes off of the beautiful woman. I'm trying to figure out why she protected me and took on a man twice her size. Ooh, got another male voice here. She's a human alpha. Savage shrugged, pointing the top of his beer bottle in her direction. That little lady right there is a force of nature in her world. It I've met a few like her. That man, Terry, best not be causing trouble in here or she'll eat him for lunch. Savage was wise because beyond his 27 years, he could have challenged Talon for the alpha position, but he never did. The Guardian liked his spot in the Pride working at the construction company as a sales rep. It goes against everything we've been taught to see a woman have to defend herself, let alone people she doesn't even know. Talon glanced at all of his men. If I were a human male, I wouldn't want to piss her off in a dark alley. Savage shivered and down the rest of his beer. That admission stopped Talon in his tracks. Savage was a very good at reading people. Of course, he kept himself closed off from others choosing to hide behind his long dark hair. Maybe he was right about Liberty. She ran the bar like a well-oiled machine. No employee ever called in sick or acted out, that he knew of at least. Lord, another male voice. Nope. Storm laughed, running his hand through his short cropped blonde hair, his ice blue eyes sparkling with humor. In fact, the only way to tell that these men were panthers were to look at their eyes. Each and every one of their eyes had a unique ice blue color. Only when their panther took over did the color change to a glowing ember. Hey, boys! A waitress greeted, smiling as she approached the table. Name's Della, and the boss lady said these were on her. Della popped her bubble gum as she unloaded her tray of ice cold beers on the table. She tucked the tray under her arm and smiled at Winter, winking at him with his when his brows raised. Let me know if you need anything else. Can we order some food? Noah asked, pulling a menu from behind the salt pepper shakers at the back of the table. I'm starving. What you craving, baby boy? She teased. Over the past few months, they'd learned that this new waitress, Della Carter, was in her mid-40s and didn't take crap from anyone. She dressed as if she was 20 and had the body to pull it off. Talon was certain she had achieved that by some type of plastic surgery, but he wasn't one to judge. I'd like I'd like a double cheeseburger, he started when he paused, with a side of fries, onion rings, fried mushrooms, and add 2 chicken sandwiches to that. You're going to eat all of that? Della raised his brow in shock. I'm a growing boy, Noah smirked. Plus, that's just an appetizer. Della laughed and made her way around the table, dumbfounded at the amount of food the men ordered. Talon smiled to himself. If she only knew how much we spent on groceries, she'd be happy with this small order. What's on the agenda for this evening, boss? Winter asked, still watching the crowd for any trouble. Sitting here, Talon replied, making his own sweep at the bar. I'm not leaving her until this place closes tonight. Not sure if old Terry will come back to confront Liberty. You really think he will? Noah asked. Oh yeah, but I'm really glad that I read ahead and gotten the personality of some of these guys, like Winter's stodginess, quietness. I don't know, his authoritative. I don't know. And I know that Noah's kind of a happy-go-lucky young guy. I'm trying to remember about Savage and Storm. I can't remember about them exactly, but I think Savage was okay. Just kind of your neutral, fun guy. I don't know. It's been a while. It's been about 6 months since I read all these. Exactly. Savage is savage. He got his name for a reason. He might, Talon remarked. Let's just enjoy the night off, and tomorrow we can rest until the fall equinox gathering at the main house. Every equinox and solstice, the Panthers gathered for a night of celebrations, giving thanks to the ancient gods who had made them what they were. Usually, the men of the pride would prepare a large meal, serving it at the Alpha's home. After the sunset, Talon would hold a ceremony of thanks and then dismiss his pride to shift and hunt on their land. Whatever meat they used, or whatever meat they didn't eat, was dragged back to the main house, and the men would stay up past dawn to prepare it for storage, providing the pride with meat for the next 3 months. They could shift any time, day or night, but on the first night of each season, their cats called to run with their fellow shifters. The women were guarded and they were not allowed to run alone. This was more out of habit carried over from ancient times. They were, which is a whole other story on down the line. They were once hunted by their enemies, which is where I'm at right now, I think with Ranger. They were once hunted by their enemies, and the one way to take out a pride was to kill their families. It was bred in their DNA to be protective, and the women let them. For the females who were with child, they were not allowed to shift during their last trimester. A few of the men would stand guard at the gathering side, ensuring that the women were fully protected. Oh, girls, you're gonna love this series. A commotion at the door had Talon snapping out of his thoughts. The remainders of the Guardians arrived fresh off of work from his construction company. Ranger Coleman and Booth Wood smiled at the passing waitress. Talon believed her name to be Mary Grace. She was a looker as well. Her old world looks gained the attention of Ranger, and he laughed when he saw Booth smack his guardian in the back of the head to get his attention. Jesus, she's fucking beautiful, Ranger sighed, shaking his head and taking a seat outside the booth that we're sharing. Boy, fright just came through or something. My head just shifted. He looked menacing with his jet black hair and full sleeve tribal tattoos that were as dark as his hair. And she's human, Talon reminded him. But she's a sturdy human. Ranger wagged his eyebrows. Noah shook his head as he placed his face into his palms. Mary Grace was curved in all the right places. Human men ignored her because of her size, but to a panther, the healthier the woman, the better she'd handle him. A healthy female carried healthy cubs. It was the way things used to be, and for their kind, the way it still was when it came to women. The thought of sexy, thick thighs had Talon groaning under his breath when his mind drifted back to Liberty Rains. She was tiny in his eyes, but to another human, she could be considered stout. There was nothing wrong with her body. Her hips flared just enough for his large hands to grasp when making love. Her breasts were bountiful enough to feed her babe and any cubs that came after the first. Her skin was slightly tanned, her hands small but strong. Her lips looked like a cupid's bow, and they plumped perfectly when she pursed them in the thought. And those thoughts just needed to stop. Was he that observant of the little woman? Damn, he'd only spoken to her directly once, and that was only earlier when Terry had caused a scene. The night wound down, and before Talon knew it, Liberty had started cleaning tables and shooing customers from their seats. As she made the rounds, he watched as she smiled warmly when she stopped at each table. Here's your tab, Liberty said, handing Talon a long slip of paper. They'd accumulated quite the bill. Talon didn't even flinch at the amount at the bottom, retrieving his wallet and pulling out 4 large bills. That should cover everything, he said, holding the money out for Liberty. The moment their fingers touched, Talon's spine stiffened. stiffened, and his panther lurched forward. A hot, nearly debilitating current blazed through his body. His panther roared inside his head. From the look on her face, Talon knew she'd felt the odd sensation as well. Are you purring? She stammered, locking eyes with him. She didn't cower, nor did she run away. Your eyes, they changed colors. Talon tried with everything he had to push his panther back. He knew what the hell was happening, and the revelation stunned him even more. There was no possible way this could be true. Boss, what's wrong? Savage growled, his body stiffening. Every one of the panthers could feel the electric charge in the air. Something was amiss. Something was wrong. Winter, Savage, and Noah crouched low, defensively, awaiting a threat. Little did they know that there was no danger. They just witnessed something rare, something unusual. Boss? Winter questioned. Liberty breathed, her eyes still locked on Talon's penetrating gaze. As Talon's eyes began to clear, his panther finally relaxed, knowing there were guardians around for protection. He felt his tension ease slightly, but not before the word slipped from his lips. It was one word, and that word told all the panthers exactly what happened. Mate, Talon purred, reaching out to cup Liberty's face with both of his hands. As soon as his lips crashed down on hers, he was lost. He had found his mate, and she was human. Boom! What y'all think? It was good? Did I tell you it was good? I love it. So, I don't remember how much it was. Oh, I talked about these books for weeks. 4 weeks. Ugh. All right, everybody, just go buy it off of Kindle and get it. And like she said, I think there's 12 right now. There's going to be 17. And each panther finds his own mate, and they're all different. I mean, how can this many how I could fall in love with this many different. I mean, I had like a different boyfriend every few days when I'd finish. You know what I forgot tonight, though? I forgot my music, didn't I? I'm so sorry. Vince, it's your fault. You let me forget. Oh, honey, you got to read the rest. That was only the first chapter. I didn't even get to chapter 2. So imagine what that's like. Okay. And Theresa, I think the way I ended up with this book, you may have been doing a takeover, and I got it through there. I can't remember. Or this may have been the start. Nina, remember when I was doing like. Yeah. Book 1 is free. And just so just so Jackie can see the cover again. I think I either got it from a takeover or second book is 99 cents. I was going through, when you get those free books or you get word of free books or whatever, or you can go and Kindle and look through and get free books and it's like the first book of a long series. I think that might have been how I got started. I don't know. Anyways, I got started that way anyways, but the first one being free. And I'm on book 6 now, I think. Jackie, let me show you the cover. Sister, look at that cover. See them abs? You see them penis suspenders? Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Theresa, I don't know where I've seen, I got it somehow anyway, but it was because the first book was free and then I got the second one and so forth. But yeah, I love this series. Oh, let me show you some of the others. I'm going to show you because I can't quit talking about it. All right, y'all. I want you to see these. Look, that's Winter. And then Savage. Look at these guys. Look. And they just keep going. Oh, look at that one. I haven't gotten that far yet. I think I'm right here. I'm on one of these right now. I can't wait for that one. Yes. Oh, yeah, that's Dane. Although, oh, yes. Yes. Theresa, you're cracking me up. You are cracking me up. Oh. All the three what tonight? There's 12 books so far in the series, and she's gonna be 7. She's gonna make 17. So you better get started, sister. Guess I'll be starting on these again next week after I finish my series. Oh, you grabbed the first 3. I think I did something like that too. I was like, oh hell no, I gotta get the rest of these. Whew. Yeah. It kind of gets you started. And they're hard to put down once you get started too, Jackie. So if you're supposed to be editing, don't start it, sister. You won't ever get that book edited. I live right outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee, on Lookout Mountain, or that's where I grew up at. And it's part of the Appalachian Mountains. Well, yeah, see? I'm your little break. You have to go back to editing when you get done here. And we have mountain lions up there. And I saw a mountain lion. And see, people always say there's no such thing as a black panther. Well, yeah, there is, because I saw one. And she was walking her cubs across the road in front of me as I was driving to work about 6 o'clock one morning. Yes. And see, when I saw that they were written in Mississippi, I thought, oh, I gotta read up on her. So then I saw your bio when I was reading up on you, and I've told Nathan he needs to read these books because Nathan Colston lives. Oh crap! Now you know what part of Mississippi is Nathan from? It's not far from you though, because you're just up from Tupelo, right? Yeah, you're just up from Tupelo, and he's over a little bit. Not quite to the center, but he's over a little bit somewhere over there. But yeah, I love these books. Now you can do what I do, Jackie. Read during work. They got to pay you to do something, right? Why not pay you to read? All right, ladies, I'm gonna let you go. I have friends from Tupelo that I met, and I haven't seen them in years, but yeah, one of my jobs, I met some friends from Tupelo, and we stayed connected for a while. All right, ladies, it's that time. All right. You guys have a good evening. Theresa, anytime you want me to read, if you got something new, sometime you want me to read, you just come on back. You know how to reach us now. And we'll be happy to put you on the schedule somewhere, sister. So all right, ladies, have a great weekend. Read a book. Go read Talon. I've already read it. Yeah, you got all weekend, Jackie. I know, right? All right, everybody. Have a good weekend and happy reading.